Hello YouTube, this is Peter with you once again, and today is going to be a follow-up about YouTube's new policies towards advertiser-friendly videos and what can and cannot be monetized. In my first video, I gave my rather cynical perspective and said, look, you made a deal with the devil and the corporate advertisers have come to collect your soul. They're going to dictate the way things work. But in this video, I want to give a different perspective, a sort of flip side to that. There is a part of me that still agrees with what I said in the first video, but there's another part of me that sees things from this different perspective. And so I wanted to talk about that. And I started to realize I needed to make a follow-up video as I was uploading my last video. And I put that in the description section saying I'm going to make a follow-up about why I think these new policies are messed up and hypocritical. And I've watched several other videos by different YouTube users, and I don't agree with everything everyone said, but there were a few issues that I wanted to touch on that other people have touched on. For one thing is the hypocrisy of all of this. Now, aside from the fact that advertisers seem to have no particular problem when the sorts of things that violate these policies are shown on television. So, for example, the news, music videos, a lot of mainstream television shows, by YouTube standards, would be considered not advertiser friendly. And not only can advertisers feel perfectly fine with running ads on those same sorts of material when they're running on television, but much of that same material, at least in part, ends up on YouTube. So here's the real question as I see it. How are these policies going to be implemented? Are they going to be implemented across the board? So for example, before making this video, I thought, what's a video put out by mainstream entertainment that would violate one of these new advertiser-friendly policies that YouTube has, and does it have an ad running on it? So I thought Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball, massive hit video, and teenage girl swinging naked on a wrecking ball. Okay, so suggest a partial nudity, sexual content. This is something that would be deemed unfriendly to advertisers by these policies. So I turned off my ad block, went to the video, and yup, there was a horror movie trailer playing. Now, I didn't scrutinize the horror movie trailer too closely, but it might have also have been violating some of these policies. I know that, say, red band trailers often push the limits of what can be shown in a movie trailer, and are red band trailers going to be demonetized? Are trailers that are too edgy going to be demonetized? All kinds of other music videos and content put out by mainstream entertainment as well as news, because many of the major news organizations like CNN, Fox, pretty much all of them have YouTube pages where they post segments of their content on YouTube. Is all of this corporate-generated content going to be deemed not advertiser-friendly? Or is it going to be held to a completely different standard that the user-generated content is held to? That's a question. I have a feeling that there probably is going to be a double standard. However, the other thing that I thought was that it's possible that in basically delegating this task of determining what is and is not advertiser friendly to an algorithm, it's altogether possible that there'll be a lot of stuff that's going to slide under the radar once people learn what tags and what titles not to use. So as it seems right now, it would seem that certain words in the description or in the title or in the tags is what the algorithm is looking for and is picking up on to flag as not advertiser friendly. Somebody else also mentioned in the captions of the video, although if it's user generated, if it's automatically generated captions, I don't know if that's really fair. And it is very possible that people might work their way around this. So you could have a video called "Puppies!" and tags "fluffy kittens," and then the video could be a long-winded rant about how someone thinks Hitler is great, and they're laying out all their reasons why they think Hitler was actually great. And I wish I could say that I was joking and that this is only some mere hypothetical scenario, but if you've ever been to the comments section of any sort of clip or documentary about World War II on YouTube, it's full of neo-Nazis and Nazi sympathizers. So this, to me, seems like a more than plausible scenario, the sort of video I'm describing. Now, maybe if they were honest in the description and the titles about what their video was actually about, that would get, picked up as being not advertiser friendly. But if they misrepresent it, then they can go on their long rant about how great Hitler was and how the Allies forced Nazi Germany into the war. And yeah, maybe I've read one too many of those comment sections. The despair I feel from YouTube comment sections sometime, but that is not the subject at hand. So, can these policies simply be subverted by avoiding the things that trigger the algorithm? That remains to be seen. Will this policy be implemented fairly and affect corporate-generated media and user-generated media alike? That's also difficult to determine. But speaking personally, I find that by and large, the standards that things are being held to are kind of ridiculous, because this, again, using television as a benchmark of what advertisers will find acceptable, these very broad standards which YouTube has put forward as their guidelines for what is and is not advertiser friendly, seem to be completely hypocritical in terms of what the advertisers would otherwise be willing to tolerate. And so you see these different standards of what is and is not acceptable on these different things. So a show on FX might be edgier than a show on Fox, and a show on HBO or Showtime or one of the other premium channels is going to get away with a lot more because they're not at the mercy of advertisers. And there's these different hierarchies of television, as I talked about in the last video. But even when you look at the most broad spectrum of television, network television, does it have sexually suggestive content, partial nudity, violence, controversial subjects? Pretty much, yes. Okay, major, highly popular television shows which gain millions and millions of dollars in ad revenue and are seen by millions of people contain all of the sorts of content that is considered not advertiser friendly if you're Joe YouTube user or Sally YouTube user or whatever. So again, it would seem to circle back to the issue of how the policy will actually be implemented. From what I can gather right now, it is an algorithm that searches for certain words within the title, description, keywords, etc. And it would seem to me that something like that could quite easily be subverted by learning what words not to use. In certain cases, if talking about maybe a particular news event, it might be difficult to talk about and use words that will both inform the potential viewers of the video, but also avoid certain words. So if there's, for example, a mass shooting and somebody on a news channel, a news blog, makes a video about that, they might have difficulty thinking, what should I title this video? Because I can't use these words that are going to set off this algorithm, but the audience also needs to know what this video is about and know that it's relevant, etc. So there might be certain situations where it become tricky. Another possibility is that, like flagging a video or doing a copyright claim, that they'll give some sort of opportunity for general users to attack the video and try and have its have its advertising potential pulled by saying this isn't advertiser friendly because it doesn't meet such and such community guidelines. And let's all hope they don't do that, given how broken the flagging and copyright system already is. And the least likely of all is that there will be some human being that makes a judgment call about the content. That's not likely to ever happen because, I don't know, 10 billion hours of video are uploaded every nanosecond to YouTube or whatever the statistic is, and it would pretty much be impossible to vet all of that content. And even if they could create some sort of artificial intelligence program that could try and sort through and understand what the content is, even though artificial intelligence is far, far away from that right now, but even if they could hypothetically do that, you would also have to consider the resources that would be required to vet all of the videos through this artificial intelligence system. So that's not going to happen either, at least not, probably not in my lifetime. So again, it seems most likely that this is going to be something done by an algorithm, and this algorithm is going to have the potential for subversion. Nonetheless, I still find this hypocritical because the day Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball gets its content, gets deemed not advertiser friendly for partial nudity, I'll be like, okay, they're applying this fairly. The day advertisers pull their advertising from, NCIS because of violence and controversial issues or whatever, is the day I'll say that the advertisers themselves are not being hypocrites, although I doubt it's the advertisers dictating these policies. It's probably YouTube saying, okay, we're going to create as broad of policies as we possibly can. We'll probably give corporate media preferential treatment in disputing this and give them a pass because we're buddies with them and they're also advertising on our channels. The content generators are sometimes also the advertisers, like the movie industry, for example, with trailers as both content and advertisement. But Joe User, the terms will be broad enough for Joe and Sally User that we can demonetize, just about anything that fits within this very broad spectrum, even if we apply this in this completely hypocritical and arbitrary fashion. So, in spite of all of the panic that's going on right now, I think the actual impact of this new policy and the demonetization has yet to be really seen and worked out. And again, whether or not people can maneuver around it, or whether or not it's going to be a major impediment, how exactly it's going to be implemented, etc. So time will tell, and when time does tell, perhaps then it will be worth creating a follow-up video on. Or this might be just yet another change to YouTube that everybody grumbles on and on about for a week, and then it's gone, like every other thing YouTube has done that has irked its creators, and people have learned to live with anyway. So enough ranting for today. Have a good whatever time it is.